The architectural character is going to be drawn from the best traditions that are all over New England and especially prevalent in Barrington. These are all photos of projects we've recently completed. Sweetbriar and Sweetbriar. This is a project down in Newport for the Newport Housing Authority. This is, I can't even remember what that, that's on Smith Hill, I believe, in Providence. And these are the homes down in Sandy Woods Farm in Tiverton. So the materials that those are going to be made out of are it's going to be traditional forms, traditional details. We've made a specialty of figuring out how to deliver an approximation of a traditional detail in an affordable context under the pressures of affordable housing. But basically it centers on the idea that we're not trying to do anything witty or make any architectural statement other than to replicate and continue the patterns of the neighborhood that we work in and do it in a way that we can afford to build it. So the materials that we'll use are the materials that you see on every new house built in Barrington. You're going to see either wood, painted wood, or painted cellular PVC trim. You'll see Harvey windows, vinyl windows with simulated divided lights, architectural asphalt shingles, and what's something called hardy board, which is a simulated clapboard material, which almost all, not almost all new houses, many new houses are using right now, even when they could afford painted cedar. The overall character of the landscape is really about creating moments where there are public spaces that give something back to. One of the principles we work under is that the private homes or private dwellings should come together to present little public vistas to anybody who will be walking through that neighborhood. Not necessarily the people that live there, but anyone who would drive through. And so when I show you the site plan in a minute, I'll talk about how these things have been arranged to create a public good. And frankly, that's not done even in private developments. They usually prioritize the value of the individual home, and they give all of the land to the backyard. And in a development like this, part of the principle of this is to create a sense of community and to provide opportunities for the community to gather, which is not to say you don't have a private patio in the back, but there's also something given over to where the block party is going to be on 4th of July. So, for instance, this is the common green in Sweetbriar, and this is a common green in one of our cottage projects. Primary to the idea of the landscape are the existing maple trees that we're going to preserve. But here's a case in point on the site plan. As you come in off Soames Road, the first thing you encounter is a small green with a 4-unit house that sets up with a porch fronting onto that. And this becomes one little moment for a public setting or gathering or a barbecue that's housed by the people in the neighborhood. Right across the street is another little Vest Pocket Park where 4 units and the maintenance building with its laundry facilities front onto that to create a little place that's active. Some of these things would be turf, whether you could occupy the center. Some of them will be planted as more visual things. But you can see what that looks like from an aerial as you come in past that little green on the left, and then arriving at the bigger green in the middle, and then the view down the length of the sugar maples to, there's a little gazebo in the plan, which I'll go back and show you later, that provides a visual termination right about there and begins the path out to the water. So knit through the neighborhood are also other little pockets like this one right here, where these 4 units and these 4 units present a narrow end to the neighbor, a small frontage to the street, and then the bulk of them turn in to create a little lane with little front porches that access these units. Very carefully, I might add, we've taken all of the language of this 8 units and rendered each little gable, each little unit with its own gable and its own porch. And part of that's the idea of communicating, recognizing that the demands of affordable housing won't allow us to do a neighborhood that's completely single-family homes. Nobody would fund it. But you can still express the scale of a single-family neighborhood and be respectful of the scale that's the predominant pattern all over Barrington and all over Rhode Island by being aware of expressing all the pieces, if not the overall footprint. So I wanted to go back 1 second to the master plan, and then I'm going to wrap up here. and just show you again how this is sort of a public gesture to bring public in along here, to arrive at a point where there's visitor parking right here, a path, and that little red dot would be some sort of summer pavilion or screen porch that remains to be seen whether that's open to the whole public or it's open to the neighborhood. In any case, the current proposal is that there's a public way down to Palmer Point, and the idea, just as Sweetbriar, is that this is not, it's the opposite of a gated community. It's meant to be open. It's designing itself in all these ways to present little public moments, even if they're only visual, to people walking through the neighborhood. And I like to think of it as, if you lived in the greater neighborhood of Soames and you were walking your dog, I would hope that this would be a loop that you would want to take into your walk, just because it's been well designed and provides a lot of interesting views and a lot of front porches. And the other point I wanted to make strongly is that relative to Soames Road and to the experience of people driving by this development, even more so than Sweetbriar, which presents to Washington Road, this development really will have no visual impact whatsoever on the people passing to and from Soames Road. There is, because of the fact that the existing units are being rehabbed and sold, and this is an existing unit, and you're passing through a deep threshold before you get to it, essentially, I believe, although I wish it were not the case, that it's going to be invisible to the majority of people who don't know it's there already. So I'd be happy to pass it back to Frank, and we can talk about the design later.
Yeah, no, I think what I'd like to do is you can have Sean Martin, who's the project engineer, come and speak a little bit about the technical side of how we're handling some of the issues with the development, and then we can open it up to discussion.